Welcome to Empowering Chats with Susan Burrell. This is where we have deep, intimate conversations about self-empowerment and future existence. I am an intuitive healer and a light leader who has been called to activate other light leaders. So I'm curious, are you one of them? So by listening, lean in and see if you are ready to be that eternal potential you've been called to be. Using your bravery, your talent, your tenacity, can you be innovative and adventurous in order to activate your light and lead from that place? This is where we learn how to love ourselves from the inside out and love the whole world over and over again. Enjoy the show. As I'm hitting record, everybody, I said to this woman, I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait to see what we're going to talk about and how we're going to do this wild-hearted dance. So I'm welcoming a stellar, just in the short moment that I've seen her and feel her energy, a stellar human being, Kris Franken. And she has written another book. Evidently, she already wrote a book, which I never saw. So I'm going to look at that book. But this book is called Wildhearted Purpose, Embrace Your Unique Calling, and Unmapped Path of Authenticity. But before we start, Kris, I want to read something from your book because it caught my attention. It's under, it's in chapter 1, everybody. It's under Purpose Grows Where Meaning Flows. And you said, Kris said, it's in our nature as humans to seek happiness and pleasure in our lives. When this is healthy and balanced, these inner states are clear indicators we're connected to our truth. But without meaning, we lose our balance and sense of purpose. As you initiate your vision, meaning will bring depth into the picture as pleasure brings elevation. Now, why did this catch my attention, Kris? I think it's because you talk about being balanced, which I'm constantly working on. But you also talk about the meaning brings us into our truth. So we just kind of dove in, didn't we? We're just like diving. So why Wildhearted Purpose for those people that don't really know you?
Hi, and thank you. I love the deep dive straight away. Thank you for having me on your beautiful podcast. I love your podcast. The Wildhearted Purpose came to me as a term. The term wild-hearted came to me years ago. I noticed someone was writing something and they used the term wild-hearted, and sometimes you see something and it glows right at you. And I saw this word and it was glowing at me and it just spoke to me so much. I mean, it's wild, it's free, it's untethered, it's connected to the heart, it's from love. It's everything to me. It's everything about what I do as a writer and a mentor and everything else that I do, even as a mom and a friend. I am wild-hearted. That is the best word to describe me. So when I started to mentor people for their soul purpose, I was finding that actually teaching people to go into their own wilderness and to really look within at everything that's messy and dark and unknown and crazy and wild, and it's them, and it's all them. And the more that they can discover the wild in them, the more that they can discover, wait, what is my unique purpose? Not what have I been told I'm here to do, but what is it that's really trying to sing out from my heart, as messy as it is, to share with me while I'm here.
I love that description because in just you talking about that, I can feel permission, which I kind of never allowed myself permission to be wild or messy. It wasn't, it's not that it wasn't allowed in my household, but I never gave myself permission to do that. I understand now why. But so I love this whole idea of being messy and being wild. And in your book, you talk about, there's a section where you talk about rewilding, that you went through something like that, where you had to rewild yourself. So maybe that speaks to what I got going on. I don't know.
Rewilding is something that happened to people, like when it happened to me, I moved up to Byron Bay from Sydney 4 years ago, thinking that I was making such a huge change, but I landed in the suburbs of Byron Bay, surrounded by neighbors. Everything was really good and beautiful. I lived by the beach. And then I don't know why, but the wild called me, like the actual wild, the forest. And we ended up buying 40 acres of rainforest a year ago and moving out here. So the rewilding that happened and is still happening and will always happen for the rest of my days is so powerful, and it's so challenging, and it's an initiation, and it's the most beautiful way that I know to live is pulling out weeds, and is planting my own flowers, and it's talking to the vegetables and getting to know why you're not growing, and thanking the ones that are growing so abundantly. It's dealing with ginormous goannas who are really freaky, and humongous snakes who I actually really love. And it's finding that balance. Like you say, balance is so important. So when we bring meaning into our lives, you know, we often think, oh, that's really serious. I have to look at how do I bring meaning? How do I make this, like, meaning feels so masculine and so deep and profound, but actually meaning can be found through play. And when play is balanced, like I say in the book, so you can play all you want, but if the play is taking you away from what you're here to do, if the play is just a distraction, then it's not balanced. But when it is in balance with your service and with the rest of your life and what you're here to do and give and love, then what meaning does is it weaves a tighter and a tighter web, and it really holds you. And you wake up in the morning and you think, what can I do today that really brings me meaning? You know, maybe I'll get a massage, and then I'll do some gardening, and then I've got a few clients in the afternoon. And to me, that's a really deeply meaningful day. There's giving, there's receiving, there's play, and there's work, which isn't really work to me. But, you know, there is a lot of effort to be done, especially when you live in the wild, when you live on the land. So I find the balance is always tricky. I think it always will be tricky for me. But also the book was actually written as a permission slip to everyone to just do exactly what your heart wants to do. That's exactly why I wrote that. I remember Liz Gilbert saying years ago, here's your permission slip. Just here it is. Go ahead, take it. What do you need it for? And I thought, well, if I can add that kind of intention to my book, and if people receive that and go, cool, okay, I'm going to do it, then that's my job done.
Well, I love the metaphors that you use in the book, and now it makes sense with that you're living on the land and you're gardening and all of that stuff. And as you were just talking, Kris, it felt like that meaning is like a basket, because you use the word weaving. And so I often like to see things in to hold myself in a container and expand that container. And so meaning gives us the opportunity, like you just said, to hold our life and then activate the purpose of our life. Okay. So let's talk about that unique calling and purpose and all that stuff that you talk about in your book.
Okay. Purpose. Yeah. Purpose to me is really unique. We all have this unique purpose that we actually, I believe anyway, signed up for before we were born. I believe that we kind of, I use the term weaving a lot, don't I? It's like we have this soul blueprint, which is just a weaving of light. And in that weaving of light is all the relationships that we're destined to have, the people we're destined to meet, the purpose that we're destined to fulfill. And we bring through gifts from our soul, from previous lives, from future lives, from the multidimensional aspect of who we are. We bring all of that in this weaving of light. And then we develop talents through our lives. There's no accident that when we were a kid, we were excellent at dot paintings. We were excellent at dressing our dolls. We just really loved and got into digging in the sand. That none of these are accidents. They point to who we are. And so what I like to do with my clients when we go and we dig a little deeper into what their purpose is, we explore their childhood just in a really light way and we look at everything that they were doing, and often something will come up and they'll say, yeah, I didn't do that anymore because of this.
Yep.
And sometimes it's really obvious. An art teacher told me I couldn't draw. And sometimes it's just, yeah, it's black and white. And for other people, it's quite subliminal. They can look back and see, oh, yeah, well, my parents were never really into like me having dolls, like a guy having dolls or a girl having drugs. You know, it just wasn't really accepted. And so it just kind of went by the wayside or whatever that is. And when we look back and we say, okay, so what was it about that gave you so much joy and so much meaning and purpose, even though it just looked like a kid playing? And how can you bring that back now? And it's very rarely is it literal. You know,
Right.
Sometimes it is a matter of, okay, how can you draw again? And what would you like to draw? And how would you like to draw? And what would light you up? And do you need a teacher, or do you just want to go crazy and just draw for yourself and not ever think that you need to make money from it? You just pursue this in a way that lights you up. But then there are other things that aren't so obvious that we can bring back from our childhood and weave them into our day-to-day. So maybe digging in the sand was more of a textural thing. Maybe we just really needed, that was helping us with our childhood. It was grounding us in. So what do we need now? Do we need to walk on the beach? Do we need bare feet on the earth? What is the kind of texture that our body craves? Because we all love exploring the earth with our five senses. And so how does that look to you individually? And how does that light you up? And that doesn't sound at all to the logical mind like it's purposeful. But what it does is the senses really bring in a lot of information to our heart and to our intuition, to our subconscious. And that really holds us and that really speaks to us and it heals us and it heals aspects of us from our childhood and our adolescence and our young adulthood time. It heals these aspects of us so that we can actually feel more free, more seen, more validated and valued as who we are. So from there, it's amazing how life changes. If you said, okay, I'm going to go have a beach walk every morning, then the day job that you didn't love so much, it kind of loses its edges a little. And when it loses its edges and it loses its charge, then it's easier for you to either love the job or find one that you love. So purpose is your whole life. Your calling is your whole life. It's everything you do that feels good and feels like you and feels like your authentic self. It's a full expression and it's all grounded in love. And purpose, although I talk about a lot of doing things, purpose is actually who you are. And when you find that peace within yourself, and that's who you are around your family and your community, your loved ones, your clients, when you show up as authentic you and who you are, then you are living on purpose.
Yes. I love that. I love that you just said all of that, Kris. You know, and it's so funny that I'm talking to you now because I'm going through another, looking at myself thing. And I choose to be fully me. That's been my mantra for 15, 20 years. And it's been a journey to, to find my actual voice, not the voice of my mother or someone else, a teacher or my ex-husband, and then in my family of origin, I feel like I'm being fully me, but I'm so out of the box for my family of origin that they're like, okay, I didn't understand anything you just said. I'm like, you don't get it? You don't understand what I just said? So I did find myself, and I know I'm bringing this up because I know there's lots of people that have gone through that where they get all excited about really understanding the truth of their being. And if you're like me, you'll want to share it with a bunch of your friends. And man, when I first did that, I was in my 20s. I lost friends right and left because I was talking about stuff that, I was talking about out-of-body experiences and how cool is that, and my really good friends are looking at me like, okay, maybe she's doing drugs. I don't know what she's talking about. So becoming fully you and expressing yourself on purpose, authentically, can be very challenging for people. And it's a hard thing to figure out sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. If I may, I just want to go back a step to speak to the people who don't know who they are, because I think for some people, they find it really hard to find out who they are. Like, what am I expressing? What even is my truth? My favorite way to do that, and I still do this continuously because I am always evolving. We're always evolving. What I love to do is I love to get a piece of paper out and write down everything that I love and everything that I don't love. And sometimes I go, oh yeah, I don't love doing the thing anymore. So why am I thinking of it? Why am I leaking energy thinking I shouldn't be doing this because I used to do it or because someone told me I was good at it? That's really nice. Someone told me I was good at it. Often that's a key indicator that's a really good gift or talent of mine. But I don't like doing it anymore. It doesn't resonate. So I'm going to let that go. So what am I loving? What am I letting go? What am I not liking? Maybe you can write a list about, the people who make you feel like you could literally say anything and they would be like, cool, I hear you. They might not agree, but cool. That's really cool. Yep. Good on you for working that out and finding that out. And so then you get to realize, okay, who am I safe with? So that when you do start to get these little buds popping up and going, like, I'm fully into past lives. I really want to have an out-of-body experience. I want to start lucid dreaming, or I want to become like some kind of shamanic healer or priestess in some kind of lineage or whatever it is. Then you can say to someone that or anything, and they'll go, cool, I'm here to support you. And maybe you don't have that person right now, but please know that there are people who will be there for you should your close friendships fall away. So, and I think what you spoke to just then is something that I've been through as well. I have family members who don't speak to me anymore. I have lost so many friends in my life because of my choices, because I moved to Byron Bay, number one. And then even living here, I'm losing touch with more people from Sydney, losing touch with even people around here, because I get really focused on something and I really think, you know what, my truth matters more than keeping friendships that don't align with who I am. And I don't mean that in a really selfish way, like, oh, well, I'm going to do this and I don't even care who wants to listen to me. I don't even care. I do care. I really do. And I have friends that are really close to me who I could literally tell anything to, but it hasn't always been this way. I'm 46 this year, and this is kind of like the first time that I have like a soul family around me who is so tight and so intimate with me, which is really scary at first. Like, we have people who live with us on this land. We garden together. We reap what we sow together, but we also have, really difficult conversations, and we have really incredibly beautiful conversations. So living intimately with people like that is challenging, and it's also the best thing that I've ever done. So when you do start to find your truth and you do want to share it, you can choose who you share that with, but you're right. There's always a chance that you're going to lose friends, but just know that the more you speak your truth, the more that the people who are meant for you are going to be drawn to that.
Exactly. That's what I found, and I'm a little older than you, but that's exactly what I found. Is that as I begin to remember who I am and speak my truth and honor myself and love myself, then the people that were always misaligned with me, and I just didn't realize it, it becomes glaring. It becomes very uncomfortable. And I've had to, especially during pandemic, when I took a lot of time to myself, not, I did some deep dives, and coming out of that lockdown where we were, I don't like small conversations, I don't really want to hear the gossip of the people I don't know. I'm so not interested in these people, I want to talk about juicy, life-changing, transmuting things and become more aware by having these conversations with people like you, Kris, that we're because we're curious, and there is growth in the curiosity, right? And you talk, okay, so in your book, Wildhearted Purpose, I love imagery that you use. you easily move from this beautiful languaging that is their analogies, their metaphors, but it's a beautiful talking about wild flowers and nature and seeding ideas and so your languaging goes back and forth in such a way that it's this book is very fun to read because the languaging is so beautiful, and yet it's very well, you talked about being serious. I'm a serious person and I take things seriously. At least I've been told that. But I can then get into whatever you recommend, a ritual or other things, and then I can drop into it because because the wording and stuff, the way you put stuff together is so luscious that I'm like, it feels. There was a couple of these when I was reading through some of it. I just felt like I kind of laid down on rose petals. Is that too? I know that's kind of ooey, but I'm gooing on you. But that's how it felt.
Yeah.
So, so let's talk more. You talk about the way you built this too, because you talk about imagining and then being creative, creating a vision board, which the way you describe it is better than what I've read, and I've done vision boards. But then to also then allow yourself to dream, again, the permission piece, to dream wildly, things like that. So why is it important to have a ritual in when we're moving through each of these aspects?
Yeah, that's really lovely. Thank you for that feedback. That means so much. The metaphors, the journeys through nature were an accident. Actually, they were never intended. I started off trying to describe something literally, and I couldn't. So I switched over to metaphor. And this is at the very beginning of my writing with this book, which I guess was 2 years ago. And I started to write, okay, no, this is what it's like. Like you're on a paved path and it's hot and you can't even see like what's going on around you. You can't see the trees. All you can hear is everyone else. Your feet are aching, your body's aching, you're thirsty, but water isn't helping. And what is it? And then the wild just I just saw this hand of the wild just grabbing this person and pulling them off, and them just running into a field of wildflowers and going, what? This has been here the whole time? Like, this is just beautiful. And it's challenging because I have to find my own food and water now. And it's challenging because I don't have, the protection of my conditioning or that kind of thing. So to switch from metaphor and then to go into, like advice, even though my advice is always to listen to yourself and here's how, and then into ritual and journal prompts and all of that, that all kind of came by itself. That was never the intention. Well, what ended up happening was every chapter then, or every little snippet, every little piece of advice that I wanted to share had to then have a journey, because the journeys just kept coming. Oh, I'm going to do one with an eagle. I'm going to do one with a mountain. What about a really big storm? What about a dark valley? What about anger? What about this? And so they all started to really just come together. And then afterwards, I thought, I really want to help the reader, like whatever they just got from the story and the idea, which often includes my story, then how can I help them to embody that? How can I help them to really bring that into their lives so they don't put the book away and go, oh, that was nice, but then they kind of forgotten the main key points that their soul was really, really trying to tell them, really like big aha moments. And so that's what the soul prompts are, to write it down. And if you don't want to write it down, then draw it. Keep drawing, because you're embodying the wisdom that you just got from yourself, not from me. The book is just
right.
Hey, what's going on in your heart? And then the rituals, and there's a lot of rituals, I believe, towards the end of the book, and they were definitely to, okay, now that you've moved through this process with me, the visioning and the creation, and then let's bring it on into your life. Like, I don't want you to finish this book without anything to show for you and your wisdom and your efforts. And so that's where the idea of, okay, let's create rituals that really work for you and that really sing to your purpose.
So, Kris, as people develop their own personal rituals, right? Is it something that you're encouraging people to do on a daily basis, do a ritual every day, or when you feel like you're losing ground, so to speak?
Yeah, I think every day having a little something, like a really small thing that you don't go, oh, I have to do that half an hour ritual again. I don't have, like, oh my God, do I really? Every day I want people to tune into like a 2-minute ritual, and I'm not trying to water down the spiritual path by saying that. What I'm trying to say is that a 2-minute ritual can change your life. Sitting with the crystal for 2 minutes, doing beautiful, soft breathing, and just imagining that you are full of light, surrounded by loving guidance and protected, and anything else that you need to come in. That 2 minutes will change your day, guaranteed, if you do that every single morning. Or a little bit of a saging around your computer before you sit down to work. That's 30 seconds. So whatever it is that you feel like, yes, I really want to do that, and then do it every day and then see how it feels. If you end up doing it 5 or 6 days a week, that's the same thing. You don't push yourself on the days where you're not at home or you can't do it or you're unwell. Then there are the rituals for when you're feeling stuck. And then there's seasonal rituals. There's the equinox. There's the solstice. There's any way that you wish to connect with nature. And I love it when you're feeling stuck. Nature just really pulls me outside when I'm feeling stuck. And it might be weeding, or it might be swimming. It might be actually just giving all of my frustration to a great big rock, which I did a little while ago, and then just feeling the transformation within me, because nature can take, it can alchemize, and it can give it back to you as love. And that's pure magic for me. So yeah, so ritual is anything that calls to you. And the more you research ritual and say, oh no, that one, and I'm just going to take those two and I'm going to make them my own, and I'm going to try them every day. And when that ritual is done, you'll know, because you won't feel connected to it anymore. It might last 3 months. It might last 23 years. You just stick to it until you feel the shift.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's been my experience, actually, of, I call it my spiritual practice, but I'll do certain aspects daily. And after a week or a year, I'm like, oh, I don't feel like doing that anymore. Why? So what do I want to do now? And that's just because that goes back to what you said earlier, that we are always evolving and shifting, and you mentioned something about past self, future self, all of it coming into your divine purpose, your soul blueprint. And so it seems like, well, let's talk a little bit more about the soul blueprint. And you said it's something that we co-create before we come in. So is it if we have a soul, which I know we do, if we are a soul, is it the same blueprint every lifetime, or is it individualized per lifetime? How does that work?
Okay, I'll tell you what I see, like when I see clients and when I see myself. And this has formed a lot from reading Brian Weiss books. Dr. Brian Weiss writes some incredible books. And actually, last name is Newton. He also writes Journey of Souls, and is it John Newton? Anyway, someone Newton. He, I
think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Those two authors have really shaped how I see the incarnation process. And so to me, it's like there's a gathering before you incarnate, and there's a gathering of spirit guides and ancestral guides and, really higher angels, perhaps. I don't know, whoever comes in, whoever's meant to come in, and they sit with you as a soul. And which is funny when I use words like sit, isn't it? They come to you as a soul, and they say, okay, so you've chosen this life as Kris Franken, and these are this is the family you're going to be born into. This is the kind of life you're going to have, and these are the opportunities. These are the key moments, which is why we have deja vu, because we've already seen.
Oh yeah.
And we go, wait, I've done this before, and they might seem really mundane, like just I put my foot up on a rock, and what? Like, that's a key moment, because we don't often see like the wedding day and the births of our children. We see other bits in between. This is just my belief. And so what happens is we say, okay, so you have the gift. And I know that the gift that is always in my blueprint is the gift of communication. I've seen it in so many past lives, and maybe it's not every life that it's activated, but there are certain gifts that have always been within my soul, but they will show themselves differently in each life. Maybe they won't be activated at all in some lives, but then there's a specific like weaving together of light for this particular incarnation. Even if my soul is then, it can split, it can incarnate in another body, in another planet, or the same planet. And if you're an advanced soul, you can do this 5, 6 incarnations at the same time, whatever time is. So then what we bring in through this life is, okay, I have a blueprint for what I can do with my life. If I follow my heart, if I stay true to myself, then I can fulfill that blueprint. And there's no, oh, you did good or you did bad. And there's no like, wow, you're fully nailing your blueprint right here. Or no, it really sucks because you're having a hard time. A hard time, a challenging time is a really, really powerful way to pivot along your path. So whether it's a divorce or the death of a loved one, or you just got fired from an amazing job, life is always pivoting you to the next phase, to the next phase, to the next phase. And there is no better way. There is a higher way. And I believe that the higher way is just when you are living so close to your truth that you feel like you say, gossip falls away. It just falls away. You're not even interested in it. I mean, I'm happy to talk about the weather, not all day. So I'm happy to brain into things that affect me, but I can't even hear gossip. I will literally just walk away from the person who's talking, because I'm just not, I don't have space for it. So that's how I see the blueprint, and it does kind of get activated. So there's this whole idea of destiny and free will, and both of them are just as powerful as the other. I can make whatever choice I want to make today, but I know that destiny is really holding me. Destiny is taking me where I'm meant to go, and I know it's for my highest good. So when we say, let go and let God, I hated that as a kid because I grew up in the church, and I really was like, what do you mean, let God? Like God, what do you mean? God isn't going to control me. This is so bizarre. But now I get it, because God and my God self, if I let my God self, my highest self, lead me each day, and if I can let go of the ego and attachments and stories and judgments and all of that, then I can really flow towards all that is meant for me.
So I love that. Thank you for explaining all that. Because I know there's people out there that don't even comprehend the blueprint idea, but also the parallel lives and things like that. And so Wildhearted Purpose, your book, there's also, you talk a bit about the unmapped, because following a blueprint feels like, okay, then I got no choice. I just have to do this and learn this and discover what my gifts are, and, and let it go. But if it's unmapped, right? And that goes back to the beginning of our conversation, I think, of rewilding. It doesn't, there may be an unmapped path that we're to walk down, right?
Yeah. That's really cool that you put that together. I haven't put that together before. I guess that's like the blueprint is the inner map, and it is not specific to you're going to write this book. It's not specific at all. It's more of you have a gift of communication. So I would be as on purpose hosting a podcast, doing speaking tours, hosting retreats, writing books, writing a blog. I could even be a ghostwriter or a copywriter for other people, but wherever I'm drawn to work, I mean, and it's not just because I'm a Gemini, and it's not just because my ruling planet is Mercury and yada, yada. I love that, but I'm not, that's also not my map. Astrology is not my map. What my parents thought was best for me is not my map. The conditioning of society is definitely not my map. Even what my friends think is great for me is not my map. There is no external map. And I'm really grateful I have a husband who doesn't ever give me a map. He just loves me being me. And that's why I'm still with him, because that's the kind of rebel I am. It's like, wait, did you just tell me what to do? Like, society, did I just read? Like, we should be doing what? Okay, let me see how I can go the other way. But what I really got was, and I'm actually really grateful for my parents, because they definitely didn't say you should be doing this with your life. They never did. They gave me that kind of freedom. They wanted me to go to university. I wanted to go to university. So that was a win-win. I ended up with a degree I didn't expect. I went in to study music. I came out with a double major in psychology and sociology. So, but that's, again, life pivoting. You just go, that doesn't flow with me. I don't want to study music. That's ridiculous. That's so heavy. I want to be over here talking about people, and I want to be writing long essays about people. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that the blueprint is light, and it is pure radiance, and it just wants you to be living in love and to be honoring all that you are. And if I wanted to move anywhere in the world right now, I could. That's not going against my blueprint. My blueprint is just being me, fully expressed, living according to love and according to my heart's pulse. So yeah, there is a bit of a destiny thing flowing, but it is, I think, a lot more fluid than we think. Definitely a lot more fluid than I made it out to be before. I'm really glad you brought that up.
Oh, I just love it. And I say yes to me being fully expressed as me, you being fully expressed as you. I say yes to that. That in all my many years, Kris, that is really why we're here. And all the other stuff is just mishigash. It really doesn't have any meaning, going back to, weaving the container of meaning, and it really doesn't. And when we can get to that place of being fully expressed as me, or you being fully expressed as you, that is the light, right? That is the love. That is the gift that we bring, especially during this time frame of, of whatever label people want to put on it. It's an intense time. But to be us fully, without any of those lockdowns, I'm using that intentionally, without anybody locking us down, if we can be fully me, you can be fully you, that's the whole reason why we're here. Mm-hmm. Not to fit into a box that society says, and you put this thing on your face, and, none of that. Mm-hmm. And I said that out loud, everybody. I said it. That's me being fully expressed. Oh, I love it. Kris Franken, you're a gift. I love having this conversation with you. Thank you for dancing with me wildheartedly. I appreciate it. The book is called Wildhearted Purpose: Embrace Your Unique Calling, The Unmapped Path of Authenticity. I highly recommend this book. I haven't gotten to the end yet, you guys. So I'm looking forward to working through the rest of it, Kris. Thank you so much for this. And if people want to work with you, they go to Kris Franken, KrisFranken.com. And we'll have all that in the show notes. You also have oracle cards too. So everybody go and look at her website, because she's got a bunch of oracle cards, which I know is another story, isn't it?
Yeah.
A whole nother story. Anyway, Kris, thank you so much. Thank you for you being you. Thank you for following your soul blueprint and your light, because it's just feeding so many glorious experiences that the rest of us get to reap and participate in. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Susan. This has been such a beautiful, inspired conversation. I love being here. Thank you so much for all you do.
Oh, you're welcome. So I'm just going to end with, and so it is, namaste.
Well, that wraps up our empowering chat for the day. I hope you enjoyed it and found it inspired you to be more empowered. If you want to find out more about me, go to susanburrell.com, my website, and you can see what we're up to. I am teaching classes again, so there's a calendar of that, and you can register. You can check out my book, Live an Empowered Life, a 30-day journey with the companion inspiration cards, or you can access my guided meditations that go through Insight Timer. We got a bunch of stuff on the website. Check it out. And until then, namaste.